Hello there. Welcome to Marriage Unmasked. Today we're talking about 5 things that men really need from their wives that they often don't talk about, that they're not explaining. And this happens a lot because I think men often, we're a bit more private about what we're feeling and what we're going through, and we don't often share a lot of the things that we need. Sometimes we don't even really know exactly what we need in the first place. We haven't done a lot of that internal work and really understand what we're feeling and why we're feeling that way. And so sometimes this can be kind of a foreign concept to us as far as how to really express those things and to feel understood in the marriage. So this has happened a couple times for us, but I'm thinking of one time in particular. So we had had a perfectly fine night, and I get up early. I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I go down. I do some stuff, and then usually I greet Cara when she comes down the stairs later. And this particular time, she came down, and she was in a bad mood. Like she was kind of withdrawn from me. She was a little bit distant. She wasn't really talking to me. She wasn't like open to me hugging her. And I started to go into like, how did I fail? Because I think that's something we as men do a lot is we start to internalize how we're being treated. We tend to put so much effort into our performance as men that we are afraid that we're going to fail. I had this fear like, well, how did I fail her? What did I do wrong? How did I make a mistake here? How did I affect the relationship? And we take on this great weight as if we're responsible for her mood or we're responsible for how she's like showing up or treating us. And that's usually a sign of some of this internal stuff that we don't know how to process. And it turns out really what was funny in that situation is she had had a bad dream. It had nothing to do with me, but I was internalizing it as if it was my fault. We as men often do that. We tend to focus so much on our performance, and we tend to get a sense of identity and worth from how we're performing. And if she's in a good mood, if she's feeling good, that has something to do with how I'm doing as a man. And if she's not in a great mood, I'm somehow performing poorly. I'm doing something wrong as a man. And we can go into shame, even when it's completely unnecessary and it has no bearing on the real situation.
I think there's always so much going on in our internal worlds, right?
Mhm.
Husbands, there's so much going on for them. Wives, there's so much going on internally. And so, even in that example, like for me, it was much more than just a bad dream. My dreams are very real life. They'll stay with me the whole day. And I one time had a dream my brother died, and I like needed to call him on the phone to make sure he was not really dead. They're very real. And this one was particularly disturbing about Adam. And I also was hurt. He wakes up at very, very early in the morning. So every morning I wake up alone, and that always kind of grates on me. I want to wake up with my husband. And so the combination of a really disturbing, stressful dream combined with feeling alone when I do wake up, that was what was going on inside for me. And then Adam already shared what was going on inside for him. And so it can be very easy to miss those things or to not be curious about those things. And then we can have a lot of disconnection in our marriage. So I am really excited that we're talking about the 5 things that men need from their wives. We're going to talk about 5 things that women need as well. That's coming up next week. But let's talk about this. And I want to just encourage wives who are listening, if at any time this starts to grate on you, any of what we're talking about is like, yeah, why should I have to do that? He doesn't do this to me. If that resentment starts to come up for you, I want you to go back to what's going on for your heart. I want you to really bring some curiosity. What's coming up for me? Why am I feeling that way? Bringing some healing in. And if you need help with that, please reach out, because this stuff it's a good indicator. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of unhealed wounds in your heart. If this triggers you at all, or if this starts to bring on some emotion, some resentment for you, this isn't about doing more as a wife. Like, we're not telling you like, all right, wives, get your list out and start writing down these things and do better. That's not what this is about. We want to help you understand more of that inner world, right? That heart of a man, so that you can feel more connected. That's the goal here. It's not like, wives, do better, and here's your list and check it off. And, so even if your husband does feel distant right now, these 5 things can open doors that feel shut, because we want to help you see what's going on in the inner world.
Yeah. Because men are often starving for some really deep things from their wives, and they often have a really hard time communicating what those needs are. So we're going to talk about like 5 things that men really are starving for, but they're not really communicating very well about that, at least not usually.
And that communication, like that's an area that women often thrive in, right? We are passionate about communicating. We love it. We want to like dig deep, right? We want to connect. So this is an area that you can actually shine in, where your husband maybe struggles a little. You can actually shine in this area.
Yeah, because men often aren't extremely skilled at communicating some of those deeper feelings. They've been taught as men to man up or to suppress those feelings and have been shamed for having those feelings for many years. That's often the case. And so when they grow up in that environment, it's very difficult for them to express those things and to feel like it's okay to do so with their wives at times, especially if they view their wife as not being a very safe or peaceful place to bring those emotions.
Yeah, or even know how to identify how to be with yourself, right? And identify what's going on for yourself. And a lot of men don't even know how to do that. A lot of women don't either, right? I didn't used to know how to do that either.
Yeah, it's so the inner healing is such an important part of it for both men and women. So the number one thing that men are really starving for in their marriage and yet aren't communicating about is that men really need respect. And it's not just respect. We know that. I mean, like there's a whole book on it, like respect and love. And so we know at some level that yes, men need respect and women need more love as a general rule. However, men don't often express their need for respect that's actually like very heartfelt and genuine. Just it's not just a silent obedience. She's coldly respectful of me. Like
it's a checklist. It's a to-do.
like a to-do list thing.
She knows this is the right thing to do, and so she just holds back her words, or that kind of thing.
She's biting her tongue because she wants to say that. Like he can feel that energy still. He knows when it's just like I am shutting my own heart down in order to quote unquote respect you in this moment. And that energy, a lot of times men can read between the lines and they feel disrespected anyway.
Yeah.
To be honest, because the tone of how you're saying things, like the nonverbals, can be very powerful. Yeah, the energy that you're bringing to it can be very powerful because one of a man's greatest needs is really to be valued, that he's worth something. And when his wife, who is like his closest person, is giving him an attitude that is communicating disrespect, it is like his closest connection is calling him worthless. It's communicating a lack of value that she has for him, and he feels that on a deep level, because what our deepest need is to feel that we're enough, to know that we are capable, that we are strong. And when we're getting disrespected by the person who loves us the most, who cares about us the most, or we think does, it strikes at our identity very deeply. We often internalize that as we must be really worthless then. If my own wife, my closest relationship, is treating me worse than what I would say most of the world is treating me and is disrespecting me, then that must mean something about who I am as a man. And so it becomes very, very painful for us inside. And we internalize it as I'm failing. I'm failing as a man. I'm failing her in the relationship.
And, if you're a man and you're listening, like this is a fine line, because yes, you do desire your wife to respect you, but also if you're looking for her to make you feel worthy or to make you feel perfectly loved, like that is codependency, and you need to go to God to get those needs met, right? And your wife doing that is kind of like the cherry on the top. So you don't ever want to look to her to fulfill you, right? What's that quote that they always say, like, you complete me, right? Like, you don't want to look to her to be your one and only. I have a need to feel worthy, to feel valuable, to feel enough. Her as your main source for that is never going to satisfy.
No, and that is also why we need other men. I think too often men will rely so heavily on their wife in this department. And if our relationship with God is not super strong either, like if we're not relying on God, like Cara said, for that strength and that identity, then we default to our wife, and this stuff really gets painful and really gets hard. And then also, if we don't have a lot of male friends, which a lot of guys are starving for that too, is strong, deep male friendships that are supportive and helpful. And that's one of the things I'm trying to build and refine is, a safe place for men to come together and have conversations like this, to get that support from other men. Because without God and without other men, we will do that. We'll become codependent on our wife for some of these things that we need. That is putting a burden and a weight on her that she's not designed to carry all of that.
And for wives, this is not something that you force. Like what we talked about, like, okay, I'm trying to be the good wife, so I'm going to hold my tongue. I'm going to, say something that I think he wants to hear. This isn't something you force. It really grows naturally as your heart heals. As you soften into your femininity, you naturally are respectful, right? You naturally see your husband in a different way. And that, again, that healing doesn't happen because of what he's doing or what he's not doing. That happens with you and God. And so that's really something that's the number one priority. If this is making you cringe, I've been there. And it really is an indicator that your heart needs more healing, right? And you're wanting to soften into your femininity. You're kind of missing that. You're living outside of that right now.
So the number two need that men often don't express that they're craving from their wives is that we need emotional safety. You might call it safety, you might actually call it like peace or like security. I think women often talk about safety. I think men need like peace, like an emotional peace in the relationship. It becomes hard for a man when he's not used to sharing his emotions anyway. He's not used to verbalizing those things. If he doesn't see his wife as a peaceful, calm place to bring those emotions where she's not going to judge him. She's not going to attack him for what he's sharing and what he's opening up about. He will close up really fast and really hard because it isn't a place where he wants to bring that side of himself. He already in the world has to do that a lot. As a man, you in the world are very much expected to not show great emotion. You have to be somewhat hard in the world, and that's fine and that's fair, and I think we as men are capable of doing that, but we do need a place to bring our emotions, and oftentimes we want to bring that to our wife, and we want to bring that openness because this is our most intimate, our deepest relationship. And a lot of times our wife will bring that emotional side out of us more. She can, when she's open, she can really coax that out of us and get us more in touch with our emotions than we would be if we weren't in a relationship. If she is not a safe place to bring those emotions, if there is no peace there when he does that, it'll cause him to close up and not want to share his emotions with his own wife. And she's often craving that. She's often wanting to understand more of his inner world. If he doesn't see her as a safe place to bring those emotions, then he won't share them.
And that's why it can be really helpful to get curious. These small moments of curiosity where we maybe ask questions instead of assuming or jumping to conclusions like, there he goes again. He's, shutting down or whatever it is. And we make assumptions. Bringing some curiosity can be so helpful. That can really rebuild that emotional openness where they may feel closed because in the past maybe you did jump to a conclusion or you brought accusation or judgment when they started to share. Asking questions that can create that openness again. And again, if you're like feeling like you have to be the one, this is kind of cringeworthy for you to hear, like, oh yes, let me treat him like a baby and ask him these questions and try to get him to open up, right? Again, that's your heart telling you there's hurts there. They need to be attended to. And your feelings do matter. And we want you to have a safe place as well, which I'm sure we'll be talking about next week. But
for sure.
we're focusing more on what the men need. It really both should feel safe, and your emotions for both of you matter equally. And so, bringing that curiosity can be so helpful for this one.
Yeah, and again, we're not saying men should just unload all of their emotional anxiety on their, like there is a bit of a caveat there for men and really women too, not just completely unload all negative emotion on your man. You bring your emotions to God too. You have a safe place with him. Again, you have a safe place with other guys where you can bring some of those things, because also what you don't want to do is create unsafety for her by sharing just a lot of unregulated emotion with her. So you do have to have some regulation there, but you do have to be able to open up to her, and she needs to be a safe place for you to open up. So number three is that men need to feel desired in the relationship. And this is really a huge one for men. And yes, we are talking about sexual desire. That is, of course, in play, but that is not the only thing. A man also wants to know that his wife is choosing him emotionally, is leaning into him, desires to be intimate with him, and wants to know him deeply. Men really need to feel chosen by their wife. And a lot of times that's communicated in certain ways, even just a touch. Like when Kara touches me, when I'm somewhat emotionally distant from her and she touches me, it just gives me this sense of, okay, she wants to be connected to me. And men often need that. It's not just touch, too. It can be words of affirmation. It can be the tone that she uses. Like when there's a softness there, it really invites man to open up a bit more and to, like, he just feels chosen. He feels loved. He feels like, okay, she's in this with me. She wants connection with me. And that encourages him to open up and to be connected with her.
Yeah, and I think sometimes as wives, right, we might think our husband wanting to have sex or wanting to physically touch us, that can feel exhausting. Again, if your heart is hurting, or maybe if you're overstimulated as a wife, you had a long day, and a husband who's loving his wife is being understanding there.
Yeah.
But also, we as wives want to be understanding that this is a huge way for us to show him, you matter to me. I choose you. I desire you. Because what happens is when we don't do that, when we say, no, like, don't touch me. No, I'm not in the mood. No, I'm tired, right? He feels rejected. And
Yeah.
that is so painful, right? I don't want to feel rejected. I know Adam doesn't want to feel
No.
rejected, right? And it's not just rejection in the moment, like, I don't want to have sex. It's almost like a man feels rejected as a man, right?
Yeah.
As a person. And so this is an important thing to understand. I mean, I've also been in the situation where I've had a higher sex drive. And so I understand what that is like to feel rejected, ideally. And this absolutely can happen if you're like, no way, like this is never going to happen. But ideally, you're both wanting each other
Yeah.
a lot,
Yeah.
right? You're both wanting each other a lot. And if that's not happening, that is an indicator there's some things that need to be addressed. There's things that are in your lifestyle, in your own health, in your marriage,
Yeah,
right, in that
or in your heart,
relationship.
like
Yep, in your heart with unhealed wounds. There's something or many things, usually it's more than one, that needs to be addressed and prioritized because this is a really big deal. Intimacy, sex, feeling desired, this is a really big deal for a marriage. It's what sets a marriage apart from other relationships. And it's so deeply connecting and intimate and pleasurable. And so if there's some disconnect there, if there's some hurt there, if there's a lot of rejection, if one person's drive is so vastly different than another or whatever, this is something that needs attention ASAP because it can lead to so much deep pain built up if it continues on like this.
Yeah, that disconnection can just kind of snowball and grow from not having this kind of affection and this connection with each other. Number 4 is men need clear appreciation. And what can often happen for men is they get appreciation everywhere else and they don't get it at home. One of the pressures that they deal with then is they tend to start to put more effort where they get appreciation. And so, if men are getting more appreciation outside of the home, in their career, in their work, they will go after that appreciation. They will go after getting more of it because for men, again, appreciation is one of those things that says, "Hey, you're enough. You're a man. You've got what it takes as a man." And so, if he's getting that elsewhere, if he's getting that at work and things are going well there, and people are really like appreciative of him, and hey, you're doing a great job, he tends to pull towards that. And a lot of times, men in the home environment, especially like men who work outside of the home and then they come to the home, and sometimes they look at it as kind of their wife's domain and they don't really know what to do. They don't really know where they fit. They've been gone all day and they're trying to figure out, well, where do I fit in this situation here? And if there's also then a lack of appreciation for the things that he is doing at home or for the things that he's doing outside of, any of it, it can start to cause a man's heart to shut down and turn away and kind of go towards where he's getting that appreciation. And it's good for a man to, again, take those kind of needs to God. He can't rely on his wife as his only source of appreciation either, but it is something that's in play here, is the appreciation that he's getting from his wife.
And that appreciation can really snowball. If he's feeling appreciated, he's wanting to continue that. He's like, okay, yes, it's like you give treats to a dog, they're going to want to do. I'm not comparing a man to a dog, but like, it's a similar concept. When you appreciate a man, it inspires him to want to do more. And not saying that's the one big reason to do it, but it is a natural byproduct. It literally is going to happen. They want to serve you. They want to love you. They want to protect you. But when they feel unseen in that, or they feel unappreciated, it can just kind of like that spark that's there naturally for them can just kind of start to die. And this isn't a performance. I don't want you to think, wives, I don't want you to think, okay, yes, I just have to perform and just do the thing. No, it coming from your heart, right? See him. I think that's what that can really help in this area. It's like, see him, actually see him for who he is. When you see him, when you really look into him, you study him, and you see, wow, it's easy to take for granted, like, wow, my husband gets up every morning, even when it's cold outside and it's snowy and it's windy, and he gets up and he goes to work, and he has to deal with his boss who's kind of crazy, right? But he does it every single day. I don't hear him complaining. And then he comes home, he's probably tired, but he still shows up for us, right? Or whatever it is. I'm just giving some examples. Maybe that's not the case for you. And maybe there's something else that you can see him for. But when you really look at him for who he really is as a man, that can be helpful in naturally wanting to appreciate him, because you're seeing all the little things that he might go through. Or maybe ask him, if you don't know what he's going through, ask what were some hard things in your day, or what did you come up against today? What was something that you overcame, whatever, where you are getting to know him better, studying him better, to see what is it that he goes through, what is it that he's overcoming, and then you're able to naturally appreciate those things when you know them, when you learn them.
And I think another really key part of this is to appreciate effort, even if it's not perfect. I think that resonates with men a lot too. Like to be seen in what you're trying to do, to be seen in the effort that you are putting forward, even if it isn't up to where you want it to be yet as a wife. But that encourages more effort. It really does, to see that effort and to recognize that effort, because sometimes what a man will do, if that effort is ignored or it's dismissed or not appreciated, is that effort starts to go away. Not that it should, but again, he really wants that appreciation, and he values that appreciation, feels valued and seen as a man, and to see him in that effort is really powerful for him. So number 5 is that men really need to know that they're not alone in the marriage. I know a lot of men that I work with, they've expressed the feeling like, the weight of the marriage, it's on me. It's on me changing. It's on me doing the right things. If I don't get it right, then I'm going to lose her. And I mean, that's not always a healthy thought, because it's not true, but still, that is something that's at play for men. Is it's up to me. If I don't bear this weight, if I can't figure this out, if I don't do this perfectly, then the marriage is going to fall apart, and it's going to be my fault, and I'm going to be a failure as a man. And that thought of failure can come in strongly. I think more men, they fear failing a lot more than they actually want to admit. I'm not doing good enough at X. Maybe I'm not doing enough around the house. And so she keeps bringing that up. And then I feel like I'm a failure as a man because she keeps saying I'm not doing enough around the house. Or, like you think of men, they lose their job, and then it's so devastating for them because now they feel like a failure because they lost that job. It means something about who they are. Now, again, these are kind of unhealthy things. You're not a failure. You're loved and cherished and honored by God. You're his child. But these are things that men struggle with, is this inclination to feel like they're failing in all these ways. And that can definitely be put on hyperspeed in a marriage setting, because the last thing a man wants to do is fail his wife. The last thing he wants to do is fail his family. That is deeply ingrained in his identity, to be a provider, to be a backbone, to be strong, to be the leader of his family, to be capable in that area. And when he feels like he's failing that, that is deeply troubling for him in his inner world. And he can start to shut down and close off and to protect himself at that point.
I think when a man does feel that way, right, when he's feeling alone in the marriage, like it's all on him changing or performing, that is because us as women, we have stepped into this more masculine role where we are policing him. We're acting like his accountability partner. We're kind of mothering him and making him feel like, you know, you need to do this, 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 and this. Did you do that? Right? We can take on this more masculine role because maybe we are feeling unsafe in the relationship, or we are trying to protect ourselves, or we're fearing something. And so that's why for us wives, it all comes back to getting some understanding of what's going on in our hearts. Where are these wounds that need healing, so that we can relax into our femininity, which invites this beautiful openness, and it really invites a man, to move forward and to move close, right? And feel that beautiful energy that we bring to a relationship. It's like fuel for him. But when we're outside of that femininity, it's like the opposite, and it really can it, bring a man down. And so really the work for us wives, especially if any of these were like, oh yep, I see that, my husband's definitely felt like that, yep, and we feel this inclination to like, well, I know I need to do that, but it feels impossible, or it feels like I'd be fake if I did that, or it feels like I would just be doing, right? I don't want you, because that's not part of the femininity, is to just like do, right? It's being, it's who you are as a woman. It naturally happens that you will, offer appreciation and show them how much you desire them, and give them that emotional security and respect and all the things we've talked about. That happens naturally when you are healing these wounds and you are relaxing into your femininity, enjoying that softness and that beauty that God has for you, and that woman is inside of you. It's just that wounds and hurts and all these things have come in, and you have felt like you needed to protect yourself, that you needed to do these things to try to be okay. And now it's time for you to heal those things. And that's exactly what we do inside Restored. I have a Femininity Restored course now for the wives in Restored, which is so, so good. I love it. I wish every single woman would go through it, because it would change your life. Even outside of your husband, it will change your life as a woman and take you out of this stress mode that so many women are living in now, and help you to enjoy the peace and the relaxation and the beauty that God has for you when you heal those things, and relax into that. So, this whole podcast is not a list of expectations. It's not this list of, do this. And I mentioned that, and I just want to make sure that you understand that it's really this invitation. It's an invitation to connect. It's this invitation to notice maybe what came up for you, and to get healing on that. And you're not responsible for fixing your husband. You're not responsible for healing your husband. You're not responsible for making him feel fully loved. That's God's job, yeah. Right? That's not your job, but you are responsible for your heart. And our heart takes and gets graspy when we're hurting. We're trying to grasp things that we need. So when we notice those things, when we're living in that way, we need to take responsibility for our heart. God is there. He's with you. He's meeting you there. He's with you every single step, no matter where you're at, no matter how much you're hurting, no matter how much pain there is in your marriage. God is there with you in it, and he invites you into that healing. And we'd love to walk with you through that, like we both talked about. Yeah. Our Refined and Restored memberships are just so powerful. We created them because this is what we needed, yeah, when we were in the deepest of our pain. And right. I was disrespecting Adam left and right, like not creating that emotional safety, definitely not appreciating him, all these things, yeah, right?
It's amazing when the masculine feminine dynamic is off. Like, it feeds off of each other. Mm-hmm. in either a positive direction or a negative direction. Like, if a wife is stepping out of her femininity, a man is stepping out of his masculinity, it's going to spiral downwards. And if a woman is stepping into her femininity and a man is stepping into his masculinity, it tends to build and grow and get stronger that way. And that's really what God wants. That's what God loves to see in marriage.
That's his design.
His design.
Yeah.
It's beautiful when it starts to, work that way. And it does take the woman working on herself in her femininity, with God, and the man working on his masculinity and his inner healing and his strength with God and with other brothers, like in my refined community. That's what it takes to build it. Just like Kara said, that's why we created these things, because we each needed these things.
Yeah, and they're exactly what we needed. And I just, wish I would have had this stuff 20 years ago, but now we can offer it to you. And it's,
Yes.
these are the things that really helped us so much. And our marriage isn't perfect, but it's amazing to see how God has worked and how he has healed and just brought so much connection we never thought we would ever have.
Yeah.
And I want you to cling on to that hope for yourself as well. If you're hurting, there is hope, right? There is hope. We also offer coaching, couples coaching, one-on-one coaching. We would be happy to walk with you through this and offer you some of the clarity, the guidance, and how to move forward when things get so confusing and they feel so discouraging and so dark. We've been there and we get it. We hope this podcast episode is really helpful. Like I said, next week we are definitely talking about the women. We're going to talk about 5 things wives need from their husbands.
Yes.
And it's going to be a fun time. So we will see you next week.